Hi, everyone. This is Steve Johnson, Director of Clinical Education for the Physical Therapy Program at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. Wanted to provide all of you with some clinical updates for 2024. And so in this meeting, we're going to talk about the accreditation update for the program, some updates about our program in general. For some of you, this may be your first meeting or first interaction with us. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that make our program unique. And then talk briefly about some of the things you'll be encountering when you take students from us, the CPI 3.0, as well as the eValue clinical education software. Then we'll have a few clinical education updates, and that should take care of the video recording. So we'll have an initial accreditation with CAPTI. We submitted our self-study report in April, and we'll have our site visit in June of 2024. And the commission will meet in October of 2024 and make decisions on programs reviewed during this time period. Just wanted to alert some of you that we may be asking students, clinical instructors, and site coordinators to participate in some meetings with the on-site team. If we do, we will be contacting you individually about this. So some things about our program that makes it unique. We use a competency-based curriculum. And what we do is we require all the competencies are provided to the students at the start of the semester, and the students are allowed to work at their own pace to finish those competencies. Obviously, we put some guardrails in place to make sure that students complete those competencies before moving into the next term. One of the ways that we help organize those competencies is around some case-based guides, which help gauge a student's progress in not only knowing how to perform each of the skill sets, but then to be able to put those skill sets together with a mock patient that we've created that tests some of the common skills from that term. Some people ask, how is this accomplished? And one of the ways that we do this is that we do a combined lab with the students, where the students are in lab for the same number of hours they would be in a traditional program. However, they spend all those hours in an open lab where they can work on any of the competencies from any of the courses in that term. And some of the advantages that this provides is lots of one-on-one instructor time, as well as secondly, the students can work at their own pace on the areas that they need help. In a traditional curriculum, a student might have 2 hours of orthopedic lab and 2 hours of neuro lab. And even if they needed more time with neuro or needed more time with ortho, they would be in lab for 2 hours for ortho, in lab for 2 hours for neuro. In this program, the students are in lab for 4 hours, and they allocate their time to those skill sets which they need the most practice on. Another thing about our program is that we focus on an integrated clinical practice sequence throughout the didactic portion of the program. So for the first 6 semesters, when the students are primarily in classroom, we don't do short 2-week or 3-week or 4-week clinical placements. What we do is have the students in lab 2 hours, or students in clinic 2 hours every single week for the first 6 terms. And so what this allows for is a real focused learning experience where the students get a chance to integrate the skills that they're learning and apply them in the clinic much closer to when they're learning them in the classroom. The second thing that we do, obviously, when you have students in their first, second, and third semesters in PT school, those students need a lot of support. They're not functioning at a high level. And so we have the students grouped in small peer groups. And so we use a format that allows the students to bounce ideas off of each other. And often they can come up with the right answer when they put all their heads together. And so it's a really nice, unique learning style that helps the students develop and acquire skills. Some of the settings that we have the students in, we have traditional orthopedic outpatient. We have some primary care campus practice, some community health focused involvement, as well as specific running clinic and some workplace health promotion. The goal of this is not to turn the student into a functioning physical therapist, i.e. someone who can work an 8-hour day and do evaluations and do all of the skills that you all do out in the clinic. The goal is really skill acquisition and retention for that entry-level PT to get them ready for their full-time clinical placements. And so rather than have them work with 5 or 6 different patients, they focus in on a client, they've practiced skills, they get very comfortable with the basics so that they're ready for the clinic. Shifting into some of the tools that we're using in clinical education, we are using the APTA CPI. The CPI 3.0 was recently released, and 2.0 was sunset last fall. So if you are doing clinical education for any programs using the CPI, you now need to transition over to the CPI 3.0. It's on a different web platform, and it requires you to log into APTA, create an account, and go through some training prior to being able to do this. And so I like to highlight this with folks. So if you are taking our students this year and you have not done the CPI 3.0 training, please log in, look at some of the links in these upcoming slides, and make sure that you get that training done, just so you're not caught trying to do that later on. So the links can be found on our clinical partners resource webpage, and there's a free APTA training. Again, these links are on our webpage, and so you can find them there. And then the web CPI resources is a nice rundown. It's got a printed version of a PDF version of the CPI 3.0 tool, as well as some nice different information about why the tool was changed, as well as kind of how it's going to function moving forward. UWSP also uses eValue clinical education software. For you as clinical instructors, there will be very minimal need to interact with this. The students are going to complete their hours, and they're going to complete their case logs. You will receive a notice, but the way we've set up the system is that you really only need to take action or do something if you disagree with. So a student says they logged 80 hours this week and it was closer to 10 hours. Obviously, you would question that, and so you can dispute that or take action to say, I don't approve of this. And so ultimately, what we've tried to do is minimize. You're busy enough as clinicians, you're busy enough and gracious enough to be taking our students. We're trying to minimize your required interactions with this software. And so the students will be logging their hours. They'll also be logging unique encounters with clients. And so the first time that they see a client, they will log some non-specific but information about the client as a way of the program collecting information about the types of patients that they're seeing. And again, just that reminder that the way the program is set up, you guys will not have to take action on these items unless you have a discrepancy that you wish to see corrected. So some key dates for the physical therapy program. Hard to believe our students are going to be headed out here in just a few weeks for their first clinical internship in the summer from May 14th to August 23rd. And then the clinical internship in the fall, September 3rd to December 12th. Another key date to keep in mind is 2025 and understanding how the clinical education cycle works now. March 1st is when a lot of programs are reaching out and securing slots for 2025. So Sam Clark, I believe, has already reached out to all of the programs to solicit placements for these key internships coming up in 2025. In terms of expectations, we get the question a lot, what are you expecting our students to be able to do? You will receive, if you are taking a student with us in 2024, you will receive a specific email communicating things to you in much more detail, but I do like to cover this here in this presentation because it is a common question. The students are expected to function at what's referred to as advanced intermediate or better in most environments throughout their their full-time clinical placements. Our students are expected to achieve entry level by the completion of clinical internship number 2. And what that means is that depending on the student's skill set and the student's involvement, they may achieve entry level in their first clinical placement in the summer, or they may achieve entry level in their second clinical placement in the fall. And so we give them a little bit of latitude based on the sequencing of the full-time clinical placements, but they will need to be at entry level by the completion of clinical internship 2. The goal of our program is to consistently match and place students with clinical partners. And so folks who've taken students from us in the past, we're always looking to place students with them again and really looking to form a reliable relationship that is a two-way street. That if you are interested in being involved in clinical education, we would like to be able to send you students consistently. We require that our students do one high acuity placement, which can be in a lot of different environments, acute care, skilled nursing, rehab hospital, home health. And we require them to do one orthopedic outpatient traditional placement. At least one of these placements must be in what we consider a rural adjacent environment. Most of the Wisconsin environments we consider to be rural or rural adjacent. And so the areas I think of automatically that wouldn't be considered rural would be some areas in the Fox Valley, Madison, Milwaukee areas. But otherwise, a lot of the other places in Wisconsin, we're really dealing with a rural or rural adjacent population. The other thing is, based on the uniqueness of the program that we have created, the competency-based learning, peer learning, our students are well prepared to learn in a collaborative model where we can place 2 students with 1 clinical instructor if that works for your organization. It does produce some efficiencies, and I certainly welcome anyone who's interested in that to follow up with me, and we can certainly work with you to see whether or not a 2-to-1 clinical placement would be right for your organization. If you have any questions after watching this video, please email me, Director of Clinical Education, or set up a visit, come see our campus facilities, contact me, and I can arrange for a personal tour of our facilities, give you a chance to meet with some of the faculty, learn more about our program. And certainly myself, Sam Clark, the clinical education team, we would love to visit your locations and share more about our program with your staff. And certainly I can also set up an individual Zoom meeting with your team if that's more efficient. That if you have questions and you're at a more distant location, certainly I've set up Zoom meetings with organizations as well, just to answer questions and talk about our program as we become much more established here in central northern Wisconsin. Again, I thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you can, hopefully you made it to one of the in-person events or the Zoom events that we're offering where you can ask questions and interact with your peers. But certainly, again, appreciate you watching the video and appreciate you supporting the physical therapy program here at UW Stevens Point.